If you're taking the JLPT and you're looking for some last minute study hacks to help you pass, then this video is for you. Hopefully you know by now that JLPT is not testing you on your knowledge of Japanese, it's testing you on how well you know the JLPT. And so in this video, I'm going to teach you the 11 important tricks that you need to know before going into the exam. So I have my notes on my phone. I'll start off with the general tips. So number one, you need to know what's in the exam, at least know what the sections are. Here, I have this paper which tells me everything in the N2, right? So you should know by now there's like the reading and the listening section, but even within the reading section, there is vocabulary, grammar, and reading. And then within those, there's different types of questions. And so you need to know each question type before you go in, because when you're in the exam, you do not have time to be learning what's happening. Number two, you need to strategize for each question type. Knowing each question type and the order of when it comes is going to be super helpful, because you're going to save every second and you're going to need that, especially in N2 when they deliberately don't give you enough time to read everything. Another thing is that the JLPT is designed to trick you, so they're going to put in options that trick the average test taker. And so if you prepare in advance, you know the tricks that are coming, then when it's time to take the exam, you're not going to be phased, and so it's not going to throw you. So yeah, later on in the video, I'm going to go through some of my strats for each question type. So the next one is to know your pace. In the exam, you get a certain amount of minutes. It's different for each exam, but for N2 it's 105 minutes for the reading and then 50 minutes for the listening. And some locations for the exam don't have clocks on the wall, and so I recommend you to buy your own watch. This is the amazing, beautiful $10 watch that I bought just for JLPT, and studying with it helps a lot too, so you know approximately how long you take for each question. If you want to strategize properly, you should know how long each question takes you, and so you can spend more time on the questions that you're not good at. For example, if you're good at vocab, then you can speed through it. You'll have more time to do the reading. That's my personal strategy, but it's different for everyone. So those are the general tips. The first section we'll go through is the reading, and the first part of reading is vocab. And so this is the first type of question. It's basically, how do you read the kanji, right? And it's going to be a nightmare if you see a word that you recognize the shape of it, but you don't fully remember how to read it. You are going to cry. So that's how you got to start reviewing. If you've got a week left, there's just not enough time to be learning new words, and so use that time wisely. Just review what you've already learned, because that extra 1, 2, 3 times of reviewing will definitely help a lot. So for these questions, I just recommend you to spam a lot of practice exam questions. My favorite resource for that is 500 questions. I'll link it in the description. It's such a great way to practice your brain for these type of questions. It's just a drill, and you just have to be able to think in that way so that when the time comes, you know exactly what's happening. One of my least favorite questions in this vocab section is yoho. I hate this question because you really need to know how to use each word. Sometimes when you learn words, you learn them from the dictionary or you learn them from flashcards, and then you may not actually know how to use it in a sentence. But this is just the friendly reminder that if you're learning words, you need to learn it in the context of a sentence. Otherwise, it's kind of useless, especially for JLPT. So if you still have time to learn new vocab, remember to learn it in the context of a sentence so you know the use of the word. These are all designed to trick you, because if you learn just the definition, they will all work. But of course, there's only one proper use of the word. Another question type I hate is Mondai 8. It's basically structuring a sentence together, which is so difficult for me. And I did not know how to solve this at first, but luckily my italki teacher taught me this really good hack. Maybe it's common sense for you, but basically you go to the first spot and you try to see what can fit with the previous part of the sentence. Otherwise, if you don't know that, then you go to the last spot and see how that can fit with the end of the sentence. And once you can figure out those two, it's basically process of elimination, which will be super useful throughout the whole exam. This narrows down the answer by half, and it saves a lot of time as well. Moving on to reading. Oh my lordy. So like I said at the very beginning, the JLPT is designed to be way too short. You are not supposed to have enough time to read all of it. You pretty much have to learn how to skim read, and that's the first tip for reading. You only have enough time to be looking for the information you need. You do not have time to be reading the whole thing. So always read the question first. Once you know the question, you know exactly what you're looking for. Some people like to read the options next, but I personally don't like to, because if you read all the options, it can kind of skew your idea of what's actually happening in the text. So what I do is I go through the question first, I'll skim through the text, then I'll go through the options. Again, it's a lot of process of elimination. So once I read the options and it's wrong, I either cross it off or I'll do a question mark, which means it could be this one and I can refer it back to that one. But otherwise, it'll just be going back and forth and it's a waste of time. So for example, for reading Mondai 11, it's like middle length of passage. For this text, it always has 3 different questions that come with one text, right? And most of the time there's 3 or 4 paragraphs in this text. Pretty much all the time, the first question is a question about the first paragraph, second question is about the middle, and then the third question is usually about the summary, which you can find the answer in the last paragraph. And so this is not all the time, but it's basically the pattern that I've been seeing after doing so many practice questions. And so my strategy for question 11 is I'll read the first question and then I'll read the first paragraph until I pretty much have an idea of the answer, and then I'll go through the choices. After I finish question number 1, then I'll read the second question and then I'll continue reading the text. So I'm not reading the whole text first. I never read the whole text at once. And so it makes it a lot easier because it's like little question, little paragraph, and it just divides everything up. This is just in general though, not always the case, but try and do a few practice questions and see if that's the same pattern you see, and then yeah. Another question in the reading section that I really couldn't understand at the beginning is called information retrieval, Jouhou Kensaku. They give you this flyer with a bunch of information, a bunch of irrelevant information. And then they give you 2 questions. At first, I had no idea how to do this, right? There's just way too much information, not enough time. And so my strategy for Mondai 14 is, since there's 2 questions, I'll always have 2 different colored highlighters. So Mondai 14, I use 2 highlighters, right? There's 2 questions, and usually the first question is like, I need this. And so I use my highlighter in this color for the first question. And sometimes the second question is the same as the first one, but a different case. And so you need to make the same markings. If it's the same color, you're gonna get confused. And so that's why having 2 different color highlighters is super useful for question 14. Okay, moving on to the listening section. When I did my first listening practice exam, I failed it and I was so scared. This was around 2 months ago, and so that's when I started studying ever since I failed. Now that I know the tricks, it's quite simple. The next tip is listen to the question carefully. I know that sounds super obvious, but a lot of the times the text is like this. The boy is like, oh, that was super yummy. I just came from the cafeteria. And then the girl is like, oh, where are you about to go? And then they have this whole conversation talking about their plans for next week. But the question was, what did the boy just do? And so you listen to this whole conversation about their next weekend, and you might have missed what the guy said at the very beginning. But if you carefully listen to the question, then you're not going to have that problem because you're looking out for that. And once you know that, you don't even need to listen to the rest. It changed everything once I knew that. They're definitely going to give you a bunch of information just to throw you off. And out of all the options, they're going to give you 4 choices, right? They're going to say every single choice in the question. So you can't just listen out for the words because all those words are going to come up. You need to listen for what they're actually asking for. It's so annoying, but once you know it, it's easy. The next listening tip is to master your note taking. So for question 3 and 4, they don't actually give you any choices. There's nothing written down on the test, and so it's just up to you and your notes. Everyone takes notes differently, but for these certain types of questions, you need to have a note-taking style so that you can refer to your own notes really quickly. Otherwise, if you're doing just a bunch of scribbles, then all the information will be bada. You won't have any idea what you just wrote down. Since you already know the layout of the question because you've done them so many times, you know exactly what kind of notes to write, and so in the end, you can summarize your little notes into the correct answer. Quick response. Oh, I hate it so much. Basically, the question is 1 sentence and then you have to pick the best, most applicable response. If you miss that 1 sentence, GG is over. So the next tip is you need to learn how to concentrate. Oh my god. A lot of people can't concentrate when there's like a long bunch of text. But for me, if there's a bunch of text, you can keep on writing notes. If you miss a little bit, it's okay because you can rely on your other notes. But for Sokuji Auto, it's 1 sentence. You don't have time to rely on something else. It's 12 questions in a row. Do them 12 in a row, okay? You can't just practice 1 and be like, okay, time for break. You have to do 12 in a row. It took me around 3 times. Now I can do 12 in a row without daydreaming in the middle, but I have a tendency to start thinking of something random. And the moment I start thinking of something random, that 1 sentence is gone and I've just lost a mark. That could be the 1 mark you need to pass. So learn how to concentrate. Okay, well, I think I gave all the information. Yeah, I just exposed all my secrets for the questions that I hate. There's so many different types of questions and I understand how frustrating it might be. Hopefully my tips are going to be useful for you. Definitely leave a like and comment down below which tip helps you, or if you have any other tips for me too. You know, it's only fair that we share each other's techniques. Definitely let me know because I'm also taking JLPT. Make sure to subscribe if you're looking for more Japanese study content or lifestyle vlogs in Japan. And good luck! Next time I see you will be after the JLPT. Oh my god.